Welcome everyone to the Ordinary Council meeting of the 4th of October 2022. Members of the public gallery should note that the Council records and publishes Council meetings via YouTube to enhance the accessibility of Council meetings to the broader Wellington community. These recordings are also archived and may be published on Council's website for viewing by the public or used for publicity or information purposes. At the appropriate times during the meeting, members of the gallery may address the Council, at which time their image, comments or submissions will be recorded. Members of the public who are not in attendance at the Council meeting but who wish to communicate with the Council via the online web form should lodge their questions or comments early in the meeting to ensure that their submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. Please could gallery visitors, councillors and those invited online attendees ensure that mobile phones and other electronic devices are turned off or in silent mode for the duration of the meeting. Could we all please stand for acknowledgement of the country? We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai people, and pay respects to their elders past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in all our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. Please sit down. We have one apology for this meeting, which is Councillor Crosley on approved leave. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest? No. Confirmation of minutes of previous council meeting, item 3.1, adoption of minutes of previous council meeting. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Wood.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the Ordinary Council meeting of the 20th of September 2022.
And seconded by Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Happy with that, Councillor Wood?
Yes, thanks, Mayor.
Item 4, business arising from previous meetings, we have none. Item 5, acceptance of late or urgent items, we have none. Item 6, notices of motion, we have none. Item 7, receiving of petitions or joint letters, there are none. Item 8, invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. Councillor McKenzie.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the 62nd Gift Star Awards, which was held on Thursday, September 29. It was a great pleasure and honour to attend the Gift Star Awards evening at the Morwell Bowling Club, representing the community of Wellington. The Gift Star Awards continue to play a vital role within the Gippsland sporting community as they provide inspiration for others to follow in their sporting footsteps. The Gippsland Sports Academy has for 62 years been instrumental in the development of Gippsland athletes that have gone on to become household names such as Lionel Rose in 65 to 69, 1990, 91, 92, 93, Tim Forsyth, Olympic high jump. 1990, 93, Kathy Watt, Olympic cyclist. 1996, Dewey Jin, Olympic rower. 2002, Cameron White, Australian cricket. 2004, Scott Pendlebury for basketball. And we know how good a footballer he is these days in Collingwood. 2020 to 22, Alex Willerman in rowing, and many more. Here in Gippsland, we have so many exceptional athletes and dedicated parents for which we should all be proud. Each month, the Gippsland Sports Academy recognises the exceptional performances of athletes across Gippsland. And within Wellington, we celebrate the hours of dedication that the following athletes displayed in 2021-22. The monthly Open winners in Wellington Shire: March, Andrew Brady, Longford, clay target shooting. April, Jessica Jackson, Longford, surf lifesaving. May, Jack Green, Mafra, 8-ball and black ball pool. October, Shannon Lang, sail, Australian rugby football. November, Cohen Wade, Stratford, modern pentathlon and teflon. And in the junior winners, we had in March, Teddy Ripper, sail swimming. November, Xanthi Wade, Stratford equestrian. Then we had the overall champion. The Open Gippsland Awards winner was Cohen Wade, Stratford, who arrived midway through the awards ceremony straight from work, and it was a pleasure to hand Cohen his award. 4 clubs were nominated for Club of the Year, and after what has been a tough 3 years for all clubs, the successful club was Sea Spray Life Saving Club, a fantastic result. What a great night for Wellington, and a huge congratulations to all the winners within Gippsland. Also a huge thank you to all our Gippsland councils that support this fantastic academy and assisting in the ongoing development of our athletic youth, Bass Coast, East Gippsland, Latrobe City, South Gippsland, Baw Baw Shire and Wellington Shire. Thank you, Mayor. I've got a couple more. So, I'd also like to acknowledge the reopening of the Sea Spray Lifesaving Club Bistro. Due to damage of COVID, like most clubs, Sea Spray Lifesaving Club has been no different in trying to get a chef and support staff to service the community, visitors and holiday makers. However, after such a long time and 6 months of international phone calls, almost, and thanks but no thanks, the club opens its kitchen on the 21st September, which sold out within hours of the announcement. What started as a conversation earlier in the year between the club president and a member staff about how rare chefs were becoming and how much our little club needed them, ended with the phrase, "I think I know a couple of guys." From there, wheels were in motion. So I'd like to make a couple of comments that have been listed from Liv, Kev and Sam, who had a new food experiences at Sea Spray Life Club. So Liv, Kev and Sam have pulled together a team that has previous history successfully working together in the pubs across the UK. The magic of and foundation of the team is one of friendship, complementary visions and respect for the industry. Our vision for the club is to breathe some life back into its walls, dust off the cobwebs and welcome future change. Located in the centre of town, we want to make this a hub for everyone in the community. Sitting atop of the sand dunes, the club looks over our biggest inspiration, the ocean. Summer, the beach, surf culture and the wild and wonderful characters of this town is what we want to give back to, making the Sea Spray and Surf Club a can't-miss spot along the 90 Mile Beach. What we know is that we have to walk before we run, but we want you to by our side. For the first few weeks, we'll be working to cap numbers and while finding our stroke. At first, we'll be offering our main menu, but as the weeks roll on, we'll be adding in a traditional English Sunday roast, what we like to call sexy specials. During the summer, a rotation of DJs and live bands will hopefully bring a nightlife back into the region that is so desperately needed, on top of an unmatchable view. With personalised touches and a fusion of Australian and British culture, our menu and bar will represent who we are. What you will notice is how young the staff body is, with the leading team being merely at the age of 22 to 25. We direct the staff body of local kids and club members who may be new at this. We know what it is like to work under horrible bosses, be at the bottom of the chain and struggle through unrealistic and toxic environments. So our number one policy at the club will be kindness always. Therefore, we also ask that of you. In these opening stages, we cannot guarantee perfection, but things will go wrong. Timing may not be right, and our staff not always have the answers straight away, but what we can promise is that we will give you everything we have and hopefully a summer to remember. On behalf of Council, I wish Liz, Kev and Sam all the very best in this exciting new venture, and to all that live in Wellington and beyond, make a booking, as I'm sure you won't be disappointed. And finally, Mayor, the 2022 Melbourne Cup is coming to Maffra and Sea Spray. The 2022 Melbourne Cup is coming to Maffra on Tuesday, October 18, and to Sea Spray on Wednesday, October 19, as part of the Melbourne Cup tour. Both Maffra and Sea Spray are one of only 22 towns across Australia that will have access to this exclusive experience. And in talking with Chris Fleming, the president of the Sea Spray Lifesaving Club at the Gippstar Awards on Thursday night, over 140 people have already booked in for what will be a memorable day. So to those Wellington residents that are thinking about attending, book now to avoid disappointment on a special day that you can cross off your bucket list. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor McKenzie. Item 9, questions on notice, we have none. Item 10, delegates reports, we have none. Item 11.1, assembly of councillors. Someone to move that, please.
Yeah, I'd like to do that. Thank you. I move that council note and receive the attached Assembly of Councillor records for the period 12th of September 2022 to the 25th of September 2022.
And seconded by Councillor Ripper. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I would just like to add quickly that it's under the Local Government Act of 2020, the requirement of this reporting is actually no longer required. But as Council operates under a good governance framework, we continue to report this information for our communities. So I'd certainly like to say thank you to our Governance Officer, Denise, and our General Manager of Governance, Arthur. So thank you to both of you.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. Item 11.2, Audit and Risk Committee Minutes. Someone to move that, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Stevens.
I'm happy to move that Council receive and note the minutes in brief of the Audit and Risk Committee, 13th of September 2022, as attached, and the confidential attachment Audit and Risk Committee minutes of 13th September 2022, and item 2 as set out in the Council agenda. All that be passed. Thank you, Mayor.
And someone to move that. I second that, sorry. Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'll reserve my comments for the next item because item 11.2 was actually a statutory requirement where the Audit and Risk Committee actually reviews the annual performance statement before it comes to Council, which just happens to be item 11.3. So nothing more needs to be said.
Thank you, Councillor Stevens. So item 11.3, in principle approval of draft 2021/22 financial report and performance statement. Would you like to move that, Councillor Stevens?
Indeed I would, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to move that Council approve in principle the draft 2021/22 financial report and performance statement as attached, subject to no material changes by the Victorian Auditor General's Office, Fargo, and authorise 2 councillors from the Audit and Risk Committee to certify the documents in their final form.
And someone to second that. Councillor Wood. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have some additional comments to make. It's very pleasing to note that the Wellington Shire Council has completed the 2021/22 financial year in a good position after meeting many challenges stemming from COVID-19. I'd like to particularly thank the CEO, the Manager of Corporate Services, Mr Kipataras, and the accounting staff for the fine work they've done in the preparation of this year's financial statements. And the external auditors did make a comment at the Audit and Risk Committee of how everything proceeded very quickly and easily this year. So that was really great considering we're still coming out of COVID, as we already stated. So the total income for the Shire in the last financial year was a total of $123.7 million. It comprised income from rates and charges plus capital grants of $11.2 million, a mixture of recurrent one-off grants from Commonwealth and State, and also operating grants of $5.7 million, which again was the same mixture of recurrent and one-off grants from the Commonwealth and State. It's also must be noted that even though property values increased for a number of properties, the council rate income for the 2021-2022 year was capped by the state government at 1.5%. And so that cap, of course, limits the total amount of rate revenue the council can recover. So whilst some individual ratepayers may have had a higher increase than that, others may have had less, but our total rate revenue is capped at 1.5%. And I think many members of the community don't realise that even though, well, the problem is partly due to the fact that the council actually sends out the valuation notices, but we get the valuations from the Valuer General, and they are now completed as at the 1st of January every year. And people, if any ratepayer has a concern about their valuation, they have to make an objection to the valuer appointed by the Valuer General, a completely independent process to council, so that we have no say in how that process works. I should also note that our total expenses for the year were $101 million, and that was a saving of $750,000 the previous year. And it's great to see that the council and the council staff work very hard to contain costs during this challenging time when I hope it's the end of COVID. Our operating surplus for the year was $22.7 million, but basically that really consisted of grants received, particularly in advance from the Commonwealth and state governments. We have this strange accounting standard where we have to account for the grants when we receive them, not when we expend them, Mayor, and that's definitely can skew our final surplus or deficit depending on when this money is received. Our total comprehensive result was $74.3 million, and that was higher because it included a revaluations of council properties and assets. We have to remember that we have over $1 billion worth of assets under management. The vast majority, in excess of $900 million, is actually in roads and streets and the underlying land. But we have to revalue as required, again under the standard, all our assets, and that led to an increase in the value of $51.6 million. Our balance sheet was interesting because our total liabilities reduced by $2 million, which I think is a really strong reflection of the council's commitment to managing a tight budget, and we are able to continue with a strong capital works program out of our own resources and also out of the grants we received from the state and federal government. But that was a total amount of $35.4 million for capital works, $17 million from improving road, streets and bridges, footpaths, $1.6 million was spent on our parks and gardens, streetscapes, $2.2 million on the Stevenson's Park Pavilion and Change Room project was one of our major projects, Mayor. $1 million on the Sale Oval Change Room redevelopment, $1 million on the Maffra Lawn Tennis Pavilion redevelopment, $0.5 million for the new Environmental and Cultural Education Centre, which you only recently opened, Mayor. Nakanbaluk, is that the correct pronunciation? Nakanbaluk. Oh, well, okay.
Nakambaluk.
I'll go with you, Mayor. I won't try that again. $0.9 million for the Yarram Warmer Pool project, which we're going to formally launch on the 10th of November, which is attracting a lot of interest. So overall, Mayor, is anyone still awake? Overall, the council is sustainable into the medium long term. Our borrowings are very minimal at the moment. They may increase, obviously, depending on the outcome of our tenders, which are currently open for the Aqua Energy redevelopment. We'll know more at the end of the month about that. But we have very low borrowings, which gives us a huge amount of scope to continue to maintain our capital works. And I suspect, Mayor, this is a historical report rather than the future, but I suspect that things are going to tighten up with grant monies into the next couple of years, and but we are very fortunate that we are in a very strong position to continue to maintain our assets. So I'm very confident our council financials are being well managed. Our independent members of our Audit and Risk Committee, as well, of course, as our councillor representatives, Councillor Mackenzie and I'd hate to be too modest, Mr Mayor, but we fortunately have a very strong working Audit and Risk Committee. Our independent chair doesn't leave a stone unturned when there's any, and you're of course the alternate delegate, of course, Mr Mayor, and I'm very remiss of not mentioning you as well for your expertise. Thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, things are looking good for the future, and I commend the annual financial report and performance report to councillors. Thank you.
Well said, and great summary, Councillor Stevens.
I apologise, Mayor, just very quickly, because it was such a good summary, and I do notice the press with us today. Just might offer, if you'd like Arthur to provide any answers to stories, to get details, we'll provide that straight after the meeting, Mayor.
Thanks, Mr CEO. Item 12.1, Planning Scheme Amendment C109, Smart Planning and PEGZ Implementation. To have someone to move that?
I'm happy
Councillor
to move
Marr.
that, Mayor. Thank you. I move that Council, 1, split Amendment C109 into two parts, being A, Part 1, all parts of the exhibited amendment except the proposed deletion of Schedule 1 to the Environmental Significance Overlay, ESO1, from the residential areas in Golden Beach, Paradise Beach and the Honeysuckles as per Attachment 1, and B, Part 2, proposed deletion of Schedule 1 to the Environmental Significance Overlay, ESO1, from the residential areas in Golden Beach, Paradise Beach and the Honeysuckles as per Attachment 2. 2. Adopt Amendment C109 Part 1 in accordance with Section 29 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 as per Attachment 1. And 3. Submit Amendment C109 Part 1 to the Minister for Planning for approval in accordance with Section 31 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 as per Attachment 1. And 4. Abandon Amendment C109 Part 2 in accordance with Section 28 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987 as per Attachment 2 for the reasons outlined in the report.
Can I have someone to second that? Is Councillor Tatterson. Is that motion opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. This amendment was commenced in 2019 with PEGZ, which, for those who aren't aware, it's a planning in the economic growth zone, which was in response to the Hazelwood Power Station closure, which was the aim was to streamline the planning system, which also included Latrobe and the Baw Baw Shire. Concurrently, the state government also ran the Smart Planning program, which restructured planning schemes across the state. So these changes that were made are policy neutral, with the changes being efficient, accessible and transparent. The public exhibition period occurred between the 4th of August and the 5th of September this year, after the Minister of Planning provided formal authorisation to exhibit on 30th of June, and no submissions were received from the public. As a result, Council adopted the officer recommendation to remove the ESO1, which is the Environment Significance Overlay, Schedule 1, from the original proposal, which was exhibited. And that's from the residential allotments in Golden Beach, Paradise Beach and the Honeysuckles. Essentially, the ESO1 the aim of it is to conserve and enhance the environmental quality of coastal areas, protect and enhance the natural beauty, as well as protecting and enhancing the visual amenity as well as the landscape. It's considered that there's to be minimal benefit with the removal of the ESO1, as there are still permit triggers due to the design and development overlays in those areas, as well as the BMO, the Bushfire Management Overlay. I certainly wish to commend the amount of work that that has been undertaken. This was started way back in my first tenure as councillor, as some of you will remember. And I just want to say thank you and acknowledge our current Acting Manager of Land Use Planning, Barry Hersey, who has spent many hours and much reading on this matter, and I say well done, and I think the Minister of Planning will certainly be happy to see this cross his desk. So thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. There's no one in the gallery. Any online comments?
Thanks, Mayor. We do have one received today from Michelle Boddy, who's President of the Yarram Agricultural Show. Michelle's raised an issue of with the upcoming Yarram Agricultural Show and potential conflict with the horse riders on the oval due to some irrigation being installed and some challenges around the logistics of having horses and irrigation. Michelle's acknowledged in her email that the project management for installing the irrigation and dealing with all user groups is actually being done by by the Committee of Management. There's a meeting tonight, I understand, where they're trying to resolve those conflicts. So she's just giving it to us for our attention, but we're hoping, and spoke to a couple of officers earlier on, Mayor took the liberty when this question came, and we're hoping that they'll be able to resolve those conflicts this evening when they have their meeting. But we'll certainly report back to Council and let you know how that goes.
Thank you. With no other items, I'll declare the meeting closed at 3:25. Thank you, everyone.